Meditation practice during conversation. Hello everyone who loves and is interested in Dharma practice. Today I will teach you the principle of Dhamma practice during conversation. During our routine meditation practice, most of us are able to have mindfulness in our mind and body movements, but when we talk, almost 100% of us get lost in conversation. It is because when we talk, our thoughts draw our mind's attention. Whatever we think and whatever we say, our mind flows into thinking. When others say something, our mind flows into listening. If we have self in our opinions, we tend to think that our thoughts are always right, and we will hold on to those thoughts. Then we want people who we talk to listen to us and believe what we say, because we think those opinions are us or are ours. However, if other people's ideas do not support our defilements, we feel frustrated or disappointed. Accordingly, we might mindlessly express our mental, verbal, and bodily actions. This is because when our mind gets lost in conversation, we lack mindfulness, and we might develop problems and suffer from our actions. And we might create fights or arguments with others. We might also overthink other people's words and be overwhelmed. On the other hand, we might forget what we have complained about to others as well, and we might reveal our bad mood or bad behavior when we don't gain support for our ideas. We want everyone to listen to us and accept our opinions, and sometimes we believe that our thoughts are correct. We cling to the idea that our thoughts are the best, but we forget to be consciously aware of ourselves at times. We forget to have mindfulness at the base. Therefore, I would like you all to practice mindfulness when we talk. For lay people, we talk in order to communicate with others in many situations, such as when we deal with business, when we live with family, and when we hang out with friends. All of us still have mundane responsibilities. Religious practitioners have to serve Buddhism. Lay Buddhists who observe 5, 8, or 10 precepts still have mundane duties to take care of as well. Therefore, we should practice Dhamma during daily living activities. While talking, if we have mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom at the base, we can practice observing our mind activities. What I want everyone to practice is to frequently have mindfulness at the present moment. We should have conscious awareness of our mind and body while eating, drinking, moving, walking, talking, sitting, and lying down. When we think or have mental formations, we must be consciously aware of those thoughts. Be aware of our mind, be aware of our body, and be relaxed at the mindfulness base. When an object affects our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind, do we have mindfulness? When a thought pops up, are we mindfully aware of the thought? Do we see the thought arising, existing, and falling away? The 6 sense organs contacting external objects causes feeling to arise. When the mind clings to the feeling, it will cause like or dislike to arise. Then we will crave to listen, to speak, or to argue. Do we recognize that craving? Do we have mindfulness when we cling to the mental objects and are about to take action, to say something, or to argue anything? Hence, if we are mindful, we will acknowledge the cause and effect of mind phenomena, and we will perceive the feeling that arises. When we listen and develop the feeling of like or dislike, or the desire to talk, do we acknowledge the feeling and the desire? Turn to look at the desire or craving with mindfulness. Look at the craving or desire to talk, to argue, or to interrupt the conversation as a mental object that is placed in front of our mind. Then, if we have mindfulness, we will see the person in front of us. We will see our thoughts, we will feel the like or dislike, and we will be aware of the desire to speak, the desire to argue, the desire to interrupt, and the desire to listen. We might even be able to feel the like or dislike to listen to a particular part of the speech. Does the message in that speech please us or disappoint us? Do we have mindfulness to observe our mind? Do we recognize the mental formation when we cling to the thought of saying or arguing? If we have mindfulness, we will consider whether or not we should express our thoughts. The mind should be at the base in every single word we say. The impact at the six sense doors is immediate. We can perceive objects, sounds, sense, taste, touch, and thoughts. Our mind is in the present moment, and it must be relaxed at the mindfulness base. Are we consciously aware of our mind when it feels pleased or displeased, when it craves or detests, when it is upset, or when it has any wants, such as to speak, to argue, or to complain? We need to be mindful while listening to others. Do we get lost in conversation? Are we mindless when we hear words that please us or when we enjoy the conversation? Be mindful. Are we mindful when we cling to the thought of taking action and are about to take action? If we have mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, we can continue our conversation without being occupied with thoughts or mental objects. Hence, we will clearly see our mind. After we see our mind vividly, we will wisely consider those thoughts. We will see the thoughts arise, exist, and fall away. Then wisdom will be in charge of considering whether or not we should express our thoughts. If we are pleased and delighted when others talk to us nicely and sweetly, are we consciously aware of the feeling? And do we exercise wise consideration? We need to observe our mind wisely. Although the conversation makes us upset or angry, we can separate the anger from our mind. Wisely consider the anger from the perspective of the three marks of existence. When someone says something nice to us, we might be pleased and love to hear it again, or even want to keep it in our memory. Please have mindfulness. If the message is reasonable, we can use it. If the message is unreasonable, but we like it, please be aware that it is the influence of our defilements or craving. If we are consciously aware of the craving or defilements, we will listen to the message mindfully. When we are habitually consciously aware of our mind, loving kindness will be developed. We will show loving kindness to those we talk, and we will not do any harm to others, since we are consciously observing the defilements. Our mind will be full of wholesomeness and loving kindness, and we will be humble and happy. Beside our routine meditation practice, I would like you all to adopt what I have taught you today to use in our daily living activities. In order to make a living, we use our body to work, and when we have to communicate, we need to have mindfulness. Our mind needs to be at the mindfulness base when our body moves, when we raise our hands up or bring them down, and when our mouth is about to say something. When we are consciously aware of our mind and body, we must be aware of mental objects in front of us too. If we are mindfully aware of these mental objects, no matter how many defilements arise, we will be able to firmly acknowledge them and have the wisdom to consider them in order to live in this world peacefully. I intended to make this clip to teach all of us how to practice mindfulness while talking or having conversation. The other advantages we can get from practicing this kind of mindfulness are preventing fights and arguments that might happen during a conversation, being able to practice loving kindness, and creating happiness among our friends and family. When they are speaking, we should not interrupt. We are aware of the mind that wants to interrupt. Once we are aware of the want will disappear, and then loving kindness will arise. We will let the people we talk to finish what they want to say. We will talk with reason, and we will not interrupt the conversation inappropriately. Therefore, we will be happier and have more friends. When we want to gossip about someone, even though that person does wrong, or when we want to hurt someone, we must mindfully watch our mind. With mindfulness, we will objectively observe the craving and the clinging respectively, and the defilements will fall into the three marks of existence: impermanence, suffering, and no self. We will feel refreshed and delighted and will not create any verbal actions that hurt others or ourselves. I would ask everyone to practice what I have taught today. We should live our life worthily by training our mind to let Dhamma flourish. Lastly, I would like to respectfully invite the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha to protect everyone who practices Dhamma. I wish Dhamma will bloom in everyone's mind. I wish that you all will have right mindfulness, right concentration, and wisdom in order to have right view to lead you all to walk on the right and straight path. I wish you all success in your practice until you achieve enlightenment. Finally, I wish that your eyes might be enlightened. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.